So the 10-inch mark on the big piece of fabric is going to go, it's going to help me sort of see a level line. At some point it's going to drop when we add some side flare, but I want to have it be at least 4 inches above my elastic to help me control where that is. So I can use it, the way the text shows it is actually under the elastic, so you would need to have those measurements in place. So if it's 3 inches or 3.5, whatever, you would need that in place. But then you're going to make it easier to gather with, they just have this to help you control. So go back over here again. This is not the way I normally do it, but this is, again, this is a one technique to help you get started to control your gathers, right? So if center front was 3 inches, then I keep this still at 3 inches. Okay, and then I can adjust the gathers evenly under the elastic, okay? So that makes that control a little bit better. Now, you guys did a skirt like this in pattern making, yes? Something like it? And you know about the notches, right? The importance of the notches in keeping the gathers under control. Some are saying yes, some are saying no.
I don't know if we did like a gathered skirt, we did a gathered top.
Okay, so it's the same principle. So if I want to use all of this fabric, it's a lot of gathering. When we do flat patterns, sometimes what we do is we use ratios. So if this measurement is 10 inches, this would be 20, and it would be a 2-to-1 ratio, right? With a fabric like this muslin, your 2-to-1 ratio is good. If you're using tulle or chiffon, you need 3 or 4 to 1. You need a lot more fullness with the lightweight. If you're trying to do a skirt like this in denim, you want it to be 1.5 to 1. So the 2-to-1 works with this weight. So just bear that in mind. This measurement is the one the textbook gave, which Abner prepared for me. So this is what your measurements should be as well. So you're just going to adjust that until you have it where you want it. This is the seam, right? The top of the elastic. So I'm going to draw that in. And then I need to find the where I want my notch to be controlled at the yoke. So for me, I could do it now on the form. I could take this back up, and let me get this half inch a little bit better. Now that was my mark from where the top of the elastic was. I bring this back up, and I would put my notch pretty much to the center of this. If I wanted a little better control, I could do a pair of notches, but at minimum 1. I don't need this anymore. That's when I come up close. Okay, so here I've got my waist, I've got my side still adding, so I'm going to go about where the princess line is, give myself a notch, and then here the same thing. So when I gather this back together, so make sure you get your gathers really nice and neat where you want them. And it's going to take you longer to do this than my demonstration, but you get the idea? Anybody?
How many notches are you doing per panel? Is it just one to find the middle, or?
I'm doing just one. If you wanted to do 2, you could do 2. You definitely want a center front notch always, and if you have a fold in the back, you need a center back notch. So you do, for those of you who haven't had pattern, you do the notch with your notcher halfway. You know how to do that? You find the hole and you see the halfway point. So you would give yourself a notch, and then here, and then here. So depending on you know, your sewing preference, the number of notches, between Paula and Maurice. Yeah, that would be a bone of contention. I need more notches. No, you have enough, right? So those questions are open for argument. And then basically it's the same thing in the back. So you guys have questions right now? All right. You take it off, you true it up the same way like I showed you with the paper. I'm gonna do one. I'm gonna do a pattern if you guys don't need my assistance. If you do, definitely ask me. And I have the A-line pattern up there if anyone needs to check references for pattern information. There were a few issues with that, so I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. All right, everybody good? Questions?
The elastic,
Mm-hmm.
do we just grab
Yeah,
it here?
take about 21, 22 inches would be enough.